Good morning. Welcome to Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome here in the room. Welcome on YouTube, Zoom, and Facebook. We're going to get started right off with our first two community songs. I invite you to join in. The words will be on this live stream and on the screen behind me. Here we go.
I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road to heaven right now, singing. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I'm choosing peace today. I choose compassion. I choose compassion today. I choose compassion today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I choose compassion today. I choose abundance. I choose abundance today. I choose abundance today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I choose abundance today. How about heaven? I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing. I'm choosing heaven today. Good morning. Yes, nice to see you. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come with living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decision, standing at the fork of the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives. Blows and breeze and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives. Blows and breeze and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have enough of my mind and body to live a life of grace and holiness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize that I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives. Blows and breeze and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives. Blows and breeze and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. You are the place. You are the place where God lives. Blows and breeze and has its being. You are the place where God shows up.
There's actually enough people in the room I can hear you sing. Oh my goodness. It's going to take me a minute here. Want to welcome everybody again who has joined us while we were singing on YouTube, Zoom, and Facebook. My name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I am so honored and privileged to be the senior minister here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. So it is my privilege and honor to share with you who are joining us for the first time and remind us of who we are and what we're about. We are a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, supportive community that celebrates the very diversity of creation. We strive to live authentic spiritual lives through a practical application of the teachings of science of mind. We engage in sacred practices that uplift our spirit, deepen our awareness, and ignite our soul's self-expression. We demonstrate active compassion to ourselves, each other, and the world. We experience meaningful contribution through giving generously of our time, talents, and treasures. And we intentionally, on purpose, shamelessly, unapologetically promote our community and these teachings. And one of the ways that we demonstrate that we actually practice our commitment to inclusion is through our inclusion candle lighting ritual that we do each Sunday. And if you'll advance that one more slide. There we go. Thank you. I have somebody doing the slides this morning. I'm so happy. We light these candles to celebrate the unity of all people, all faiths, all beings, all life. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the path of ethical living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles of love and law. We light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And we light this final candle, honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. Thank you, Deborah. And so now I'm going to turn it back to our musicians for our next community song, All One Spirit. sing things over and over and over, and then you hear something differently. That line, everybody wants to come home, that's that divine discontent that we experience when we're out of alignment, and it really is that call to come home. That's just beautiful. So this is our time for announcements. We are here, we are open, and we are continuing to honor the precaution guidance to mask up, and we have implemented a bead system, a communication system that requires no words. So if you want folks to stay 6 feet away from you, to not shake your hand, to not hug you, then you wear a red bead. If you're not sure, you're figuring it out one thing at a time, one person at a time, you wear a yellow strand of beads. And if you're all good with people coming up and shaking your hand and giving you a hug, and this is the caveat, we're all wearing masks, no matter what color of beads we're wearing, we're all wearing masks, then you wear a yellow strand of beads. If you want to create some safe space around you here when you sit, there are seat saver signs there at the front door. You can grab a couple of those, put one on either side. We have plenty of space, so you can do that. We do ask that if you have any symptoms of anything that could even possibly, remotely, in some realm, be possibly contagious, stay home. We don't want to share everything with each other. It's actually a gift of this thing called COVID. It's helping us learn to take better care of ourselves and not push ourselves to be heroic when our physical body is telling us to stop and rest. If you have been here, if you're here this morning and over the next week you wind up with symptoms and test positive, please reach out, let me know, so that we can be in integrity with doing contact tracing that might be necessary. Okay. I'm going to wait for Juanita to inform me what my next announcement is. There it is. Our Going Deeper. We've started a weekly discussion group. This whole year is about applying these principles in our daily life. And so Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 is a time to come together to talk about how that's working and share with one another what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you're challenged with, to get support, all of those things. You can do it here in the room, or you can do it online. We have the capacity now to do a hybrid thing, and so I invite you to show up and let's talk. Our annual meeting is today at 11:30 following the service. That'll give you folks time to socialize, and it'll give me time to set up the hybrid technology so that folks here in the room can actually interact with the folks that are on Zoom. I'm just channeling my inner divine geek that I didn't know I have. Another gift of COVID. We do have 3 board candidates on the slate. Diana Carolyn is running for a 2nd term. Valerie Costa is running for a 1st term. And Deborah Ellis, one of our licensed practitioners, is running for a 2nd term. And so during the course of our member meeting, we will be voting on that slate of candidates. Okay. And I messed Diana up by putting the slides out of order, so my apologies. I think that's it. This is our time of inward shift. And so I'm going to turn it over to our practitioner this morning, Deborah Ellis. She's going to speak to us about our community principle authenticity. And then The musicians will transition us into our time of meditation. Deborah will bring us out of our meditation with our opening affirmative prayer and then lead us in reading our weekly affirmation.
Good morning, beloved community. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. So I'm going to share about our community value, authenticity. And it's so timely for me this morning because I've been flowing in some discussions where there's an opportunity for me to show up authentically and with love. So because authenticity is a word that frequently nowadays gets used often, we could ask 10 different people what it means and likely get 10 different meanings. So this morning I'm choosing to talk about authenticity as the quality of being true, real, or genuine. Being authentic means that you act in ways that show your true self and how you feel. Rather than showing people only a particular side of yourself, you express your whole self genuinely. In our opening candlelighting, the statements, everyone is welcome here. There lies a welcoming to be authentically who we are and that each one is welcome here. And so as I flow in this practice, and it really is a practice that truly everyone else is taken, so I might as well lean into being me, and to show up authentically knowing that sometimes it may feel lonely, sometimes it may feel empowering. It could feel that I'm that lone voice. And that is the part that can become challenging in showing up authentically. But here's what I know at the end of the day. That if I've shown up and been myself, and to the best of my ability, I have told the truth, then I can not only sleep well, but I don't have to remember all the details of what happened in the interactions that I was involved in. That I can just let it be and just stand in who I am and know that I am exactly who God created me to be. Spirit, the divine, the Holy One, whatever you might want to call it, and that is who I came here to be, to express as the divine as me. So I want to leave you with this. I'm going to close with this quote from Dr. Brene Brown, who is a research professor who spent the past 2 decades studying courage, vulnerability, authenticity, shame, and empathy. To be authentic, we must cultivate the courage to be imperfect and vulnerable. We have to believe that we are fundamentally worthy of love and acceptance, just as we are. I've learned that there is no better way to invite more grace, gratitude, and joy into our lives than by mindfully practicing authenticity. Brene Brown. Blessed be.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and its grace.
breath to be a little bit deeper than the one before. Just reveling in this breath, in this place of silence and stillness. Recognizing that the divine, the one, is present in and through and as this very breath that is collectively shared in and through and as all of life. It is that point of light that connects this thing that we share together that we call life. It is perfect joy, perfect peace, deep and abiding love. It is all-knowing, all-powerful, the allness of life. It is breathing me. And so I know that it is breathing everywhere. There's no spot where this light is not. So from this place of knowing what is alive here, what is present right here in this eternal moment of now, I speak a word of blessing for this time together in beloved community, claiming, affirming that there is a power and a presence for good that is known as each one expressing it in, through, and as. So grateful this morning to recognize that there is so much love, not only present right here in this very room, but beyond, into the great beyond. And so I just accept this morning that there's an uplifting, an uprising, an expansion of this consciousness and all that it is and all that it will ever be. And so I give thanks this morning to be in loving service to this community, to be a part of this world, to be living and breathing right here and right now. And so now I just release into that alchemy of love and law. And I let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Good morning, good morning. My name is Deborah Ellis, and I am honored and privileged to be one of your licensed practitioners here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome, welcome, everyone that's watching online and everyone that's here in the room. So exciting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read our affirmation, and I would like to invite you to read it with me after I read it through once, if you so choose. Wow, it got really little. I become what I practice. Practice. Let's say that again. I become what I practice. And so it is. Blessed be.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while we spoke of many things,
do my hide the picture behind me. There we go. And I'm sure if I forget, Juanita will remind me to turn it back on. It takes a village. So this morning, before I get started, let's take a breath together. Let's get ourselves in sync here. So this month we've been looking at the thing itself with our first talk, Wonder, Wonder Everywhere, because that's what it is. We looked at the way it works by Embrace the Now. We looked at what it does last week by Question Everything. And this morning we're looking at how to use it, also known as Prove It. Possibly not in the way you have used that phrase in the past. We typically use that phrase, prove it, when someone else is saying something to us, and we're like, prove it. That's not the kind of prove it we're talking about this morning. So remember, our overall theme this year is recognizing that spiritual living does not happen just in your meditation chair, doesn't happen just here, doesn't just happen in your prayer time. Spiritual living literally happens when we live spiritually from spiritual principle. And that really is the context of proving it that we're talking about this morning. So how does one get to Carnegie Hall? We've all heard that, right? Practice, practice, practice. And how does one demonstrate principle? According to Ernest Holmes, we demonstrate principle by proving it. So how do we live spiritually? By practicing the demonstration of spiritual principle. By literally practicing, proving what we teach on a daily basis. I want to share with you a story. We're not that far away from New Year's, right? And a pretty common practice for us humans, at least in the United States of America, is New Year's resolutions, right? So Johnny made a New Year resolution that he was going to join a gym and get healthy. And so he did. He joined the gym. And as part of his membership, he got 3 personal training sessions. And so he went with the first time and he met with the personal trainer. And his personal trainer worked with him to create a plan to accomplish the things that Johnny said he wanted to accomplish. Gave him a couple of exercises to start with. And their session ended. So about a month later, Johnny came back for his second session. And his trainer gave him some more exercises to work on, recommended some classes that might help him achieve his goals, and recommended some dietary changes that he might want to consider. A month later, Johnny came back for his third session. And by now, Johnny's pretty discontent. He's complaining that, I paid all this money and I've met with you twice and I am not getting any results, dude. What's up? So the trainer thought for a minute and then he asked Johnny a couple of questions. He asked Johnny, what classes have you taken? Johnny thought for a minute. He said, I haven't taken any. And he asked him what dietary changes he'd made. And he said, none. And then he asked him, so out of all of the exercises that I gave you, which ones do you find work for you the best? And Johnny looked really perplexed. And he's like, wait, you mean I'm actually supposed to do them? Right? Now, we can all laugh at that. But how much of our spiritual journey is exactly the same as Johnny's thing at the gym? My job, my honor, my privilege, Being a minister is kind of like being a spiritual personal trainer. Right? I give you ideas to follow. I give you exercises to try. I suggest spiritual dietary changes. Did you know that the word diet actually comes from the Greek diete, which literally means way of being? Has nothing to do with food. It has to do with how we be in life, how we are living our life. And I can give you all of those things, but what I can't do is make you use them. I can't be at your house and make you sit down and meditate. I can't make you open a book and study. And even if I could, I can't make you learn. I can't make you be open to doing anything you don't want to do. And that's the beauty of what we teach. You are the only thinker in your mind. You are the sole authority of your experience. And here comes the R word. You are responsible for what you experience in life. You are responsible for how you experience life. Nobody else is. It's all too easy to blame one another. So on this idea of being a personal trainer in the spiritual realm, personal training, you have to study anatomy and physiology. So what's the anatomy and physiology of spiritual practice? The anatomy is the science of studies of the structure of the body. That's what anatomy is. So spiritually speaking, there is no structure in the infinite body. So it is really the study of unformed substance. Now that takes our brains a minute to wrap around, because we live in a physical realm and our orientation is to form. But to really study spiritual anatomy, we have to go beyond the form, metaphysical, beyond the physical, right? That's what metaphysics is. The physiology is the study of function and can be investigated at the levels of cells, tissues, organs, and the whole body. So if we translate that to spiritual physiology, we're really talking about the study of the creative process, that thoughts become things, right? So in this, I'm holding this up for the folks online. It's like driving a wheel. Whee! So this is our teaching symbol, right? And we have one on the wall in here, but the folks online can't see that, so we have this one upstairs. This top part represents mind, that unformed substance. This middle section quite literally represents the activity of mind. We refer to it as law, we refer to it as soul, but it's the impartial receiver of the ideas of mind. And then this bottom level is manifest form. It's this lectern, it's my computer, it's me, it's you. And this little symbol quite literally came about as Ernest Holmes was teaching, and it wasn't intentional at all. He had the three levels, and what he was showing was thought comes from here, down here, and then we see the form, and we have new thoughts about the form, and those new thoughts are creative, and the loop continues. It's really that simple. But we complicate it. Well, why do we complicate it? Well, for one, it's not necessarily a fun thing to recognize that we're always proving something. We like to think of this proof as I can take time off and then come back, and when I have a new idea that I really like, I can be about the business of proving that. Well, here's the reality. We are always practicing. We are always proving whatever we hold in consciousness. There is no way around it. The creative process has no off switch. But we can choose how we use it. And we choose that by being aware, right? So what's happening when in our spiritual gym exercises, we're not getting the results that we think we should be getting, right? Because we all have them, right? It's like I'm praying and I'm treating and I'm meditating and I'm journaling and I'm not getting what I want. Well, Ernest Holmes says that this is not a teaching where you can have everything you want. That's a misunderstanding. That what we get is what we have the consciousness to create. That's very different than what I want, right? Because what's operating in consciousness are those deeply held beliefs. The ones that oftentimes we're not even aware of. Practitioners go through 6 prerequisite classes and then 2 years of study and then sit before a licensing panel to learn and prepare themselves to actually help us uncover our hidden beliefs. There's a reason we call them hidden beliefs, because we don't know they're there. Right? Doesn't make them bad, doesn't make us bad. It just means we have a subconscious that holds beliefs that are in the collective consciousness. There are beliefs in our subconscious that came about generations ago. Doesn't mean they're not operating in there. It just means we're not aware that they're operating in there. And one of those deeply held beliefs that will crop up from time to time, even in those of us that practice diligently, is this idea way back in there that this stuff doesn't even work. Right? It's a nice idea, but it really doesn't work. Science of Mind, the 1938 edition, page 52, paragraph 5, says this. Hence, it follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does. Only it does according to our belief that it will not. This is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of our doubts and fears. It is not a punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an authentic result of failing constructively to use the law of God. That's like the best reference to how I'm responsible that I can come up with. As I think, so I am. So what do we do? I'm going to share this other quote. 10 ideas that make a difference, 1966, Ernest Holmes. Page 46, paragraph 4. Without faith and acceptance, it is impossible for us to change our life. This does not mean faith in our personality. That's where we get confused when we're trying to change things. It's not faith in our personality, our faith in our personal power, but faith in life itself, that unformed substance. Faith, by definition, faith is the belief. Faith is the substance of the belief of things not seen. It's the belief in the substance. He goes on, faith in oneself alone is not enough to meet the issues of life. Many have tried it, but it has never proved successful. There is something about our very nature that demands a constant communication with the invisible. Every person, whether or not they know it or believe it, is some part of divine life. Too often, we may hypnotize ourselves into believing that we are incomplete. We are imperfect. We are separate and isolated. And we identify ourselves with the fantastic pictures of our morbid dream. Another way to say that is we get stuck in the physical realm. We get stuck in condition rather than in the truth of the unformed reality that is the essence of all form. So what do? Well, we got a couple of options. One is Socratic thinking. Okay. Socrates said that all knowledge exists within the student and just needs to be drawn out through skillful questioning. Sometimes we're so busy looking for the answers, we don't ask questions that will lead us to the answers that are already present within us. Another method is the scientific method, observation. And from that observation, we question. And then we research the topic. And then we form a hypothesis of what we think is going on. And this is where proving it, this is where spiritual practice comes in. Test your hypothesis with experiment. Test it. And then analyze. Well, what is it that we're analyzing? You're analyzing what's showing up in your life. Does it match your hypothesis? If it doesn't, then the conclusion has to be something is operating in the subconscious that is out of your awareness that has to be surfaced in order for you to have a new thought. I suggest starting with the scientific method, and when you get to that place where you're analyzing the results and they don't match up, go to the Socratic questioning. What thought is showing up as this experience? It's really that simple. But it isn't always fun because we just want the payoff. If we're being really honest, right? I want to have the thought, I want the words to come out of my mouth, and I just want it to show up. Thank you very much. As if the divine is some celestial vending machine. Right? We have to begin to be honest about what's operating in order to get clarity about what's really operating. The good news is it isn't hard to decide. It isn't hard to know what's operating. Look at your life. Just look at your life. All the evidence is right there. Okay? So in conclusion, this is what Ernest Holmes says in Science of Mind on page 423. In conclusion, the world needs a spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principles than to have them repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. If you can't prove it in your life, how do you know it's true? How do you know? And if you aren't proving it, then I submit to you that through that analysis of scientific method and Socratic questioning, that you in fact do not believe it's true, because if you did, it would show up. Remember that other quote? If I don't believe it works by not working. Right? Whatever you deeply believe, the unquestioned beliefs are what show up in your life, and those are the things we get to change. We get to change. You don't have to, but you get to. I want to wrap up with this. 12-step recovery. Now, many of you will instantly, the thought that just came into your head is, I don't have that problem. You instantly dismiss it because you're not a member of 12-step recovery and you don't see yourself there. Good. But the 12 steps have something to offer everybody because it's a program of practice. It is a program of self-examination, self-responsibility, improving metaphysical principles that work to change people's lives. And I submit to you that if a bunch of drunks and junkies can sit together and figure all this out and actually change their lives, the rest of us got no excuse. I qualify on all counts personally. Right? It works because people practice. They live the steps on a daily basis. And so I invite you to figure out what system of spiritual recovery will work for you. Whether it's 12 steps, 12 minutes, 12 breaths, 34 breaths, doesn't matter. What practice will work for you? The best practice that you'll ever have is the one you will do. What's the best diet? The one you will follow. It's that simple, and it gets to be individualized for you. So your homework this week, not a bunch of questions, just practice. So I invite you to look at somebody, and if you're online, just if you got somebody there, look at them. If not, say it to the camera. I commit to practice this week. There we go. Let's take this into prayer. And so I know that this one divine life is living itself, that it is the essence of my physical being, that is expressing and unfolding its life as this thing I call my life. I know that what is true of me is true of all life, and so I know that all life is the divine unfolding, regardless of appearance. Beyond the physical, the divine is unfolding itself. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming a recommitment to the divine yes within me, to practice, to evaluate, to ask the questions that reveal that higher, clearer thought that becomes the experience of my life. In deep, deep gratitude, I let it go. I let it be. And so it is. Let's take another breath together. It's one of those talks where it's like, are we having fun yet? The only homework is to go live differently this week. So this is our time of conscious giving, the time where we give to support this center to commit our giving, to participate in divine circulation. So let's say our giving affirmation together. Here we go. I give this gift with love and joy from a consciousness of abundance. Divine love blesses and prospers all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Please receive the gifts.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks.
So I speak a word of gratitude. A word of gratitude for the consciousness that participates in the circulation of the divine in the form of money. A word of gratitude for the funds that sustain Sierra Center for Spiritual Living and give through Sierra Center for Spiritual Living to do good work in the world as we support our organization and our nonprofit partners. And so it is. All right. Couple of gratitudes. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Valerie, for being our musicians this morning. Thank you, Deborah, for being our practitioner this morning and for being my life partner every day. Thank you, Diana, for showing up to do the PowerPoint and surprising me with a most magnificent gift this morning. And I apologize for the things that were out of order. And thank you for Juanita for being our wizard behind the curtain with our live stream. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jill Wiggins, for this beautiful orchid behind me. And thank you, Hillary Dart, for being our greeter and for organizing the service stuff behind the scenes. And thank you and you, because this is so much more fun with you than just the little red light on a camera. I can actually say that with authority after 2 years ago. So let's stand and do our benediction. Unless you're driving while you're watching this, please don't stand if you're driving. Something wonderful is happening as me right now.
Something wonderful is happening as me right now.
It is this thing called practice. It is this thing called practice. And guess what? It is this thing called practice. I know it. I feel it. I sense it. because I am it. And so it is. All yours, musicians.
I give myself permission to be all I can be. I give myself permission to live passionate and free. I give myself permission to be all I can be. I give myself permission to live passionate and free. I give myself permission to be all I can be. I give myself permission to live passionate and free. I give myself